off we go. Thanks for coming today, Ian.
Yeah, and very well, thank you.
All right, so I'm just going to ask you a few questions.
Yep.
So just give us a quick brief of what genre you write and what do you like about that genre?
All right, I write Regency historicals, which is the Jane Austen era. I write it, well, because I love it. And I think a lot of it's to do with Georgette Hyde, who I've been reading since I was 11. And they're romantic, they're funny, and yeah, she sort of established the Regency era, and I'm a deeply frivolous person, and I do like a little bit of funny in the story. And they're not sort of hilariously funny or anything like that, but I do. My frivolous side comes out, I'm told.
Okay.
And it's a great era because so much was happening.
Oh yeah. So do you plot or do you just go with the flow?
I'm a pantser who's learning to plot. I'm seriously trying to plot more. I've always, even though I call myself a pantser, I've always plotted, but I plot constantly and replot constantly, and that's not the most efficient way to write, particularly in a market where people are wanting people to write faster, and I'm not that a faster writer, so I'm hoping to get more efficient. But yeah, the characters come to life in my head and they take over, or they come to life on the page too, and they take over.
So the characters sort of talk to you?
They do,
yeah. And
I have to wake up and write it down. Seriously, conversations just start happening, and I think, and I've known from experience now that I think, oh yeah, that's great, I'll remember that in the morning, and I don't. So now, whenever it comes, whether I'm driving, whether I'm half asleep, I will stop and write it down.
So what authors do you admire or you read?
Oh, I read really widely. I read romance authors, I read fantasy, I read crime. I read mainly popular fiction. I came from a background of literary writing. I did literature at uni and things like that. And then I discovered romance. I didn't realise that Georgette Hyde was romance because I was reading it when I was young. And I didn't realise that there was this whole new world of modern published romances. And I just gobbled them up. They're just such fun. So yeah, I read a wide range. Okay.
What's your favourite thing about being a romance author?
I never have one favourite. There's always a lot of favourites. I love that stories that I dream up go all over the world, and people write to me and they have participated in my stories and they know my characters. I love that. But probably the best part of being a romance writer, and this is absolutely awesome, is the people I've met, the friends that I've made, other authors. When I first started writing romance, probably the last thing that I would have expected was that I would become such good buddies with other romance authors. I thought it was sort of like a thing that I just had to get out of the system or something, and I just loved doing it. But pretty much all of my friends just thought, romance. And so I had this preconceived ideas of what other romance writers would be like and other romance readers, and they were completely wrong. And they're just, they're wacky, they're great, they're funny, and I love them. Okay, so they're my mates.
So do you remember the first romance novel that you read?
It would be Georgette Hyde, Old Shades. And then, my sister was my older sister's quite a bit older, and she was a librarian when I was a kid. And she used to bring home the Charlotte books, the inspired books. And so she didn't introduce me to Georgette Hyde, but she did introduce me to Mary Stewart. And what was the first one? Madam When You Talk. But then later on, who did I read first? Mary Ballock, I think, in the modern sort of romance writers. And I love Mary. I'll buy everything she's and read everything she's written. I can't remember which one was the first one of hers that I wrote. And Mary Jo Putney, Veils of Silk, was one of the early ones, and I completely fell for that. That was brilliant. And then I found Joanna Lindsay, and that was the first one of hers that I read was Prisoner of My Desire, and that was fabulous. And that just started me.
Yeah.
But I came to those, Mary Ballog and Mary Jo Putney and Joanna Lindsay quite late in life. You know, I'd had a career as an English teacher where I harassed girls. I used to teach in girls' high school.
Yeah.
And I harassed girls for reading that rubbish.
And now you're right.
And I still live in the same area, and I still see a whole lot of those girls who are young women. They all know what I'm doing, and they just say, "Ha, miss, we got ya." So it's lovely.
So what books did you? So obviously those are the books that you read when you were a child.
Georgette Heyer and
yeah.
Mary Stewart. But no, when I was younger, look, I read everything. I was one of those kids who always had to have a book on the go. So I read a whole lot of Ian Brock Blyton, and my favourites of those were the adventure stories, Valley of Adventure and Mountain of Adventure and all that sort of stuff, and the Five that Find Outers and Dog. Probably before that was the I was brought up on Winnie the Pooh and the House of Pooh Corner, and I can quote you great screeds of Bad Sir Brian Botany, and him being blipped on the head and various things like that. I read one of the no one's ever heard of him, but Henry Treece, who wrote historical books, and he was a school principal or something, but he was an English master or something. They were written a long time ago, and they were old library books that I got, and they were amazing books. I don't think they were for children, but they were not written for children, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So they were confronting and scary and fascinating, and I read a whole lot of, because for me historicals weren't sort of anything special. Just every book had its world, whether it was the magical faraway tree world, or the Golden Strangers, or the world of Boudicca, or something modern, anything, and I've never really distinguished with that. The world of the book is the world of the book, so I haven't kind of separated things out. But yeah, I read everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what?
And Australian. Kylie Tennant, and my older sister had the Billabong books, and I read all those, and my brother had Biggles, and I read all of those. I just read everything. Yeah, couldn't stop me. I was a pain in the arse unless I had it, basically.
So, what's your plans next?
Well, I'm working on. I've got another 2 books in this current contract to finish, and that's a new series that I'm starting. So I'm working on that. For about the last 3 years I've been planning to dip my toe into self-publishing, and I just haven't got round to it. I've got a bunch of books that I have promised readers for particular characters that never got a main book of their own. It's sort of, Marcus Historic, yes, Marcus Historic, that sort of thing. And I've promised that, and I keep writing bits of it, but I'm the sort of writer who has to sort of delve into just one world at a time. I did try and write 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, or something like that. Just doesn't work for me, because I sit down to write Marcus's story in the afternoon, and this morning's scenes start coming. So from a completely different book. So I just have to do one book and one book and one book. So they're my plans.
Okay.
I just keep writing the next book.
Did you enjoy the high tea today?
It was fantastic.
How the intimate setting?
Yeah, no, it was lovely. It was fantastic. It's really good to get to know people in a bit more depth. And because, look, romance readers have so much in common, and whether we're writers or readers, we're readers. Yeah. So there was an awful lot of what are you reading at the moment? Oh, I haven't read her. Oh, she's fantastic. Oh yeah, you must read this. Oh, you haven't read that. Oh, you got it. That kind of thing, and it was just a joy. Yeah.
Okay,
and the food wasn't bad either.
No, the food was nice. And what do you enjoy about being part of ARA?
Oh, well, the thing that you're talking about, where we can all come together as readers for a start, and we all feed each other's habits.
The to-be read list just gets longer.
Yeah. And look, there are a couple of people on my table who I've known for years, and I just consider them friends. It's not like sort of an organisation where I sort of, and I think when people have that much in common. It's just very easy to talk about it. And I think Ara's great, and I think a lot more people need to know about it, because I don't think a lot of people realise that it's not just about books. It's cutting down all kinds of isolation, and it's fun. And how often do you have things that are just fun?
Yeah.
You know, and it's just great. Yeah.
All right, thanks for coming today, Ian.
You're most
We
welcome.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.